Monday, November 20th, 2023, meeting of the Lake Zurich Village Board of Trustees. One note, we have Kyle Cordell sitting in as clerk for Kathleen Johnson. So Kyle, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Poynton.
Here.
Trustee Bobrowski.
Here.
Trustee Euchre.
Here.
Trustee Spicone.
Present.
Trustee Chagru.
Here.
Trustee Weider.
Present.
Trustee Riley is absent for tonight. You have a quorum, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Would you please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There's one more person who wants to speak.
Okay. Okay, next on the agenda is the oath of office for Lieutenant Anthony Campbell. I'm going to turn this over to Chief Pilgard and Mike Hilt, who will handle the oath.
Thank you, Mayor Poynton. Commissioner Hilt. And Lieutenant Campbell, could you please come up? Turn it around so you're facing the audience, please. Stand next to Commissioner Hilt. Thank you, Anthony. Commissioner Hilt is here this evening as the representative of the Police and Fire Commission, so we can promote firefighter paramedic Campbell to the rank of lieutenant. I wish to share a little bit of information about Lieutenant Campbell before we get him sworn in this evening. He grew up in Lake Zurich, and he graduated from Lake Zurich High School in 2009. And while he was attending high school, he attended the Lake County Tech campus, where he began to study firefighting and EMS. In addition to that, he was a member of the Fire Department Explorer Post. And the Fire Department Explorer Post gives young adults and teens the opportunity to discover and explore career opportunities. So while Anthony was a member of the Explorer Post, it influenced him to continue his pursuit of public safety and joining the fire service. Upon his hire in the fire department, he then joined our Explorer Post and served as an advisor. An advisor is essentially an instructor to share his fire service knowledge and EMS knowledge with young adults that are in our community. In Anthony's background, he's worked for ATEC Ambulance as an EMT and a paramedic. He graduated from paramedic school in 2012. He's worked for the Countryside Fire Protection District, and he attended Lake County Quad 2 Fire Academy in 2012. He was hired in Lake Zurich as a firefighter paramedic in March of 2015. He holds the following certifications. He's an Illinois Office of the State Fire Marshal Advanced Firefighter, a fire apparatus engineer, and a fire officer. He's also attended the Illinois Fire Service Institute Fireground Company Officer class, which essentially is a class about decision-making and implementing tactics and tasks on the fireground. In addition, he's taken the Illinois Fire Service Institute Leadership Development and Decision-Making class, which helps him make decisions and serve as a leader in the fire service. Currently on the fire department, he's a hazmat technician. As a firefighter, he served as a mentor for our probationary members. He's a Stop the Bleed instructor on our EMS committee. He serves on our turnout gear committee, assisting in the issuance of protective equipment to our firefighters. And recently, Anthony became the Explorer Post lead advisor, where he supervises and coordinates all the activities of the fire department related to the Explorer Post. In addition, Anthony has an associate's degree in fire science from Harper College, and he has a bachelor's degree in fire administration from Columbia Southern University. He's been busy in a short amount of time of his career. So it is my pleasure to hand over the oath of office for Commissioner Hill to swear Anthony in this evening.
Thank you, Chief Pilgard. Anthony, give you a little script to follow along there. If you'll raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Anthony Campbell,
I, Anthony Campbell,
having been duly promoted to the position of lieutenant
having been duly promoted to the position of lieutenant
in the Village of Lake Zurich,
in the Village of Lake Zurich,
in the County of Lake,
in the County of Lake,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of a lieutenant
the duties of a lieutenant
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Anthony, congratulations
Thanks, sir.
on your promotion.
Congratulations, Anthony. This evening, Anthony has a bunch of his family and friends in attendance, and his wife Amy will come up, and I will present his lieutenant badge to her for her to pin on him. Amy? All right. Can you, all right. We'll take a really quick picture.
Before the picture, Mr. Hilt, Mike Hilt, who swore in Anthony, is a member of our three-person Police and Fire Commission volunteers. So, Mike, thanks for showing up again tonight. Along with he and Marty Bush and John Kelly, they do a lot of vetting of fire and police candidates, amongst other things in their job. So, thanks, Mike.
So every single unit that Lake Zurich Fire has is currently on a call, so we don't have a ton of department members. But Anthony, we're going to take a quick picture up here with the Captain Haas and the other members of the fire service. I believe Kevin is here. Oh, and we can have the other explorers. I know Kevin was part of the Explorer program and got his interest in the fire service through our Explorer program, where he's a career firefighter in Palatine. And if there's anyone else that's in the Explorer post that I didn't catch or recognize, they're welcome to come up here too. So we'll take a quick picture.
So all three of those young men were explorers, Chief?
Yes,
Chief?
sir.
Wow. Good program. Okay, that's it for the oath. Thank you all. Moving on to public comment. Public comment, there was another person who wanted to speak. Are they still here? Oh, you're still here? Who? Okay, there's somebody before you though, Alex, okay? Hold on. So Public comment is an opportunity for residents to comment briefly on matters included on the agenda and otherwise of interest to the Board of Trustees. Public comment is limited to 30 minutes in total, 5 minutes per person. When you step to the podium, if you haven't already done so, please sign in and identify yourself with your name and address for the record. And I will take public comment in order from the sign-in sheet. If you have any comments regarding, relating to the Truth in Taxation public hearing for the 2023 property tax levy, please hold them for that item. You will get an additional chance to speak then. So the same public comment limits will apply there. So first person with public comments is, I'm going to screw up your name here. So it's David. Let me see if I can do it. Aldering.
Hey, you said it. Hey, take the rest of the night off, okay?
Okay, David.
Actually, that was my mistake for signing that. I was just strictly here for future discussions about the Chipotle, and I thought that was what we were talking about. So my apologies for even signing that. So disregard that signature.
Okay.
So
Well, if you have any comments about the Chipotle item, you can still,
we'll get to it.
No, but it is gonna be on the
Yeah,
It-
it's on the agenda.
No, but this
Yeah.
is the time to comment.
You won't get a chance
You won't
later.
get a chance
No,
at
no,
that
no,
time.
no, I'm with them on behalf of, I'm with them.
oh, okay, I gotcha.
That's what I thought everyone was talking about.
Okay,
My apologies.
okay. Well, thanks for coming anyway. Okay, Alex, you're next. Okay. 5 minutes, Alex.
I hope so. I hope so. Agenda uses water quality in Michigan Lake water. And second, I'm interested raise taxes. Two questions. All questions very important. I don't know why is this everything for 12 people, because like Zurich is residents not 100, okay? I believe 22,000. So this room is not for quorum for these serious questions, for serious agenda. I believe it need large space for 2, 3, 4,000 people. It needs some referendum about consent for these questions, but not the small room. Every time small room for serious question, real serious. It's vitally questions. Okay, starting. The water quality in Michigan Lake is not bad, terrible. Is it real a poisonous swamp? Maximum contaminant level MCL for arsenic, dissolved iron, radon, nitrate concentration standard for simazine molecular concentration of cadmium, copper, mercury, nickel, lead, and zinc, and many toxic synthetic organic compounds were highest exceeded in the high percentage of the samples. Over the past 13 years, the previous indicators of all this diversity has increased not by percentage, but several times. No one cleans the lake Michigan, and the people their health, of course, no one cares. Water quality. At this moment, the water quality in Lake Zurich has terrible characteristic. Presents a lot of precipitation and a terrible smell. According to Europe data, the presence of chlorine in the THM treatment mixture provokes bladder cancer. Bladder cancer is only the 10th most common form of cancer in the UK. 135,000 people in the UK diagnosed with bladder cancer in 2016. I don't know how many people get bladder cancer in Lake Zurich, because Lake Zurich use chlorine for cleanup of water. The same is happening in US, where the tap water contain toxic like fluoride and arsenic. Water purification in Lake Zurich is carried out according in 100 old technology, while harmless modern system have been developed. Fluoride is poisonous industrial waste toxin introduced through congressional pressure groups sponsored by large corporations after World War II. Disorder symptoms from fluoride, idiocy, the impact of developing brain, ADHD, neurotoxic harm, and impact of the endocrine system. Number 3, race taxes. 220 years ago, America successfully developed without taxes, zero taxes. 220 years ago. America is starting, developing successfully without any kind of taxes, zero. Taxes starting 1% after Civil War, just. Because it was founded of revolution against English taxes. An administration that talks about raising taxes, significance of professional unsuitability. 14 trillion in debt is a perfect example of professional ineptitude.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. You've been talking for 5 minutes, if you don't mind
Within a
finishing up.
maximum of 2 years, the collapse of economy is predicted with all the most difficult financial, political, and social problems. The only chance of Lake Zurich and surrounding villages and cities is consolidated municipality. According to Illinois law 65 ILCS, Illinois Municipal Code for Consolidated Municipality. Lake Zurich thus solves with minimum cost water shortage. Around the Lake Zurich, there are several small villages have huge clean water sources. 2, significant tax reduction. Number 3, avoid bankruptcy. By the consolidation of technical equipment, machine, offices, industrial premises, and territories, all schools, child care facility, and bus depot into the one district. The inability of unwillingness of the current Lake Zurich administration to participate in the consolidated municipality to solve the above catastrophic problems expose Lake Zurich residents to mortal and critical financial danger. In this regard, residents of Lake Zurich raise the question of voluntary resignation of the administration and early election to nominate worthy representative of the new administration. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alex. For anybody who's interested in the first part of his comments, I believe that on the benchmarks from late last week, there was a discussion about the kinds of issues that Alex brought up with regard to the chemicals that are in Lake Michigan water and what CLC Jawa is doing to clean that stuff up. So it's on our benchmarks. You can read it. It's a great explanation of what's in there and what is not in there and at what levels. So, are there any other public comments tonight? Okay, seeing none, we will close public comments and we will go on to the Truth in Taxation public hearing for the 2023 property tax levy. I'll read the summary. The total proposed increase to the Village of Lake Zurich property tax levy for 2023 represents an 8.45% increase over the previous year. This levy brings the total levy to $10,976,657. In accordance with state statutes, The village is holding this Truth in Taxation public hearing in order for residents to have the opportunity to comment on the proposed levy. The hearing notice was published on November 10th, 2023 in the Daily Herald, as well as posted on the village website and in the official village newsletter Benchmarks. So we have two recommended actions. So the first action is, may I have a motion and a second to open the Truth in Taxation public hearing for 2023 property tax levy and receive into the record public comment. So I need a motion and a second.
So moved. Euchre.
Second, Spacone.
Okay, thank you. Okay, all in favor signify with an aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. The meeting is now open. First off, are there any additional staff comments, Amy or Ray or anybody? No? Okay. Next is public comment. As a reminder, public comment is limited to 30 minutes in total and up to 5 minutes per speaker. Please step to the podium if you have any public comments, and you have 5 minutes to speak, so. Nobody? Okay. Then we will close public comment, and we will go to the recommended item, action item number 2, and that is a motion to close the meeting. I need a motion, please, to close the Truth in Taxation public hearing for the 2023 property tax levy, and a second.
So moved. Whiter.
Second, Shagru.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor of this, of the motion, please signify with an aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the public hearing is now closed. Thank you. So now we'll move on to the consent agenda. The titles on the consent agenda will be read by the village clerk and approved by a single roll call vote. Any item may be pulled from the consent agenda for discussion or separate vote by any member of the board. Clerk Cordell, would you please read the titles?
Approval of minutes of the board meeting from November 6, 2023. Approval of semi-monthly warrant register dated November 20th, 2023, totaling $2,387,747.33. Agreement with Baker Tilly for municipal audit services for 1 year, the amount not to exceed $56,000. Agreement with Municipal Collection Services for debt collection of local ordinance violations. And a resolution affirming Lake Zurich is united against hate as cities, towns, and villages collaborate to protect our communities in times of strife.
Okay, thank you. Are there any board questions or any discussion desired on any item, or would anyone like any item pulled for a separate vote?
I just have a question
Okay, Mark?
around the municipal collection services. How much are we owed outstanding right now? Does anyone have that offhand?
I'm glad you asked, Mark. Going back to May of 2021
Yeah.
to now, we have about $190,000
Okay.
uncollected.
You mean people aren't paying their bill?
Most people do, but some don't.
Okay.
We got it's about 75% that are paying.
That do. Okay. So my other question is, with this agreement, will this allow us to, how will this help us? It'll allow us to leverage different vehicles of which credit things like that. How does this agreement help us?
This is a new collection company compared to who the village has been using for historically, as far back as anybody knows.
Yeah.
So this is a fresh collections company that seems to have better success in the area. We've done our due diligence and checked with a lot of municipalities. They're having a better success rate than we are, so we thought it might be time to
Okay.
give a different one a shot.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
I knew he'd have that number for me. He's thorough.
Give him a big head now.
That's okay.
Okay,
Like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
and a second, please.
I'll second. Euchre.
Okay, Clerk
Trust-
Cordell, would you call the roll?
Trustee Bobrowski.
Aye.
Trustee Chagru.
Aye.
Trustee Euchre.
Aye.
Trustee Spacone.
Aye.
Trustee Wider.
Aye.
Okay, The consent agenda passes, and everything on it passes, so if you're here for those items, you're good. Moving on to new business. Okay, item 8A, Trustee Weider.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Property tax levy extension ordinance and 4 abatement ordinances regarding debt debt service. In summary, each year the Village Board approves a tax levy ordinance to certify with the Lake County Clerk's Office in order to extend property taxes on real estate parcels within Lake Zurich municipal borders. The 2023 levy request is based upon the estimated equalized assessed value, or EAV, of those properties as determined by the Ela Township Assessor's Office and the Chief County Assessor's Office. Applying the rates authorized by the Property Tax Extension Limitation Law, or PTEL, the village is requesting a total levy of $10,976,656, which represents an increase of 8.45% over the previous year. The tax levy request for 2023 includes $1,343,961 for debt service and $4,965,839 for police fire pension funds. Approximately 1/4 of the increase is generated by new construction, with the remaining 3/4 primarily attributed to the 5% PTEL capped inflation rate, otherwise 6.5%, and 3% inflationary growth based on the EAV due to rising property values. The proposed levy also includes a projected increase of $206,997 for the special recreation levy, which provides funding for accessible improvements and services. 4 ordinances totaling $2,176,248 regarding debt service abatement are also presented for Village Board action, as sufficient funds are available from other revenue sources to pay the scheduled debt service payments as they become due. The need to extend a property tax levy on these issues is not warranted. Therefore, the village will notify the county clerk not to extend property taxes on these abatement ordinances.
Okay, thank you, sir. Amy, anything to add?
Yeah, I'll add a little bit. So the increases were explained in that paragraph. I'd just like to point out that even though we have the increase, that there are no new categories in our property tax extension. So when we look at the consumer price index, which is an indicator that products and services are going to get more expensive, it is just those same line items that we're expecting are going to increase in cost, and therefore we're adding that to the levy request. And if there are no additional questions?
Board, anybody have any additional questions? No?
I just wanted to clarify, Amy said that the CPI, obviously, our basket of goods and services are going to increase in costs. CPI was 6.5% this year. We are capped at 5%. So we're not going a full 6.5%. So we're still being prudent with the money, because knowing that we've got 1.5% increase of the price of goods and services that we cannot put into the property tax bill.
Correct.
So we need to absorb those costs as we go through our budget, and we obviously had our workshop on Saturday, which you all did a nice job for and preparing for, knowing that we're absorbing 1.5% of the CPI through our current through our future expenditures that we cannot allocate into a taxing base. So we actually are, because of the property tax extension limitation law, we are required to tax at a lower amount than what CPI was.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's correct.
Anybody else? Nope. Okay. Greg?
Yep. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 2023-11531, authorizing the 2023 property tax levy extension in the amount of $10,976,657.
Second, please.
I'll second. Euchre.
Okay. Clerk Cordell, please call the roll.
Trustee Chagru.
Aye.
Trustee Weider.
Aye.
Trustee Bobrowski.
Aye.
Trustee Spacone.
Aye.
Trustee Euchre.
Aye.
Okay, Greg?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the following four abatement ordinances regarding debt service via a single roll call vote. Or the first ordinance, 202311-532, abating certain taxes levied for $6,325,000, general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2014A. Ordinance 202311-533, abating certain taxes leveled for $11,775,000, general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2015A. Ordinance 202311-534, abating certain taxes levied for $7,100,000, general obligating refunding bonds, Series 2016A. Ordinance 202311-535, abating certain taxes levied for $1 million, general obligation bonds, waterworks and sewage systems, alternate revenue source, Series 2016B.
You made the motion. Anybody want to second it?
I'll second.
Mark?
Spacone.
Clerk Cordell, please call the roll.
Trustee Chagru.
Aye.
Trustee Spacone.
Aye.
Trustee Bobrowski.
Aye.
Trustee Weider.
Aye.
Trustee Euchre.
Aye.
Okey-doke, the levy passes. We move on to item 8B, Trustee Bobrowski.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an ordinance granting a planned unit development of Chipotle Mexican Grill at 442 South Rand Road. In summary, Terrico Incorporated requests approval to construct a new quick-service Chipotle restaurant with a drive-through pickup lane and outdoor patio at 442 South Rand Road, located at the southeast corner of Rand Road and Route 22. This parcel was recently created through a legal re-subdivision of the larger property into a new 1-acre lot. Until recently, a significant portion of the existing 3-story office building was leased to Chase Bank, which has since constructed a new bank across the road. The Planning and Zoning Commission, PZC, considered the preliminary plan at a public hearing on June 21, 2023, and reiterated the following points for consideration by the applicant: visibility of the trash dumpster from the surrounding right-of-way, and circulation on the property, and traffic safety concerns at the property access points. Upon conclusion of the hearing and discussion, the PZC unanimously recommended approval of granting approval of the project. Village staff also recommends approval of the planned unit development with the conditions for approval incorporated into the attached ordinance.
Okay, thank you. Sarosh?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. Tonight we have Mr. Joe Goodman representing Terrico Inc. They're the owner and developer of this outlot. He's also accompanied by his team, represented by their civil engineer, and also members from Chipotle, the company corporate office. Joe, if you want to go to the front.
Mr. Mayor, Village Trustees, good evening. My name is Joe Goodman with Terrico Real Estate. We are part of the ownership team of the southeast corner of Rand Road and Route 22, which includes the subject property, the office building at 444 South Rand Road, as well as the retail strip center at 466 South Rand Road. We are here this evening seeking your approval to pass an ordinance to permit the construction of a 2,370 square foot Chipotle restaurant with a pickup lane and outdoor patio. We previously introduced this project to the board back in May and presented the project to the Planning and Zoning Commission, where we received unanimous recommendation for approval. This evening, we are represented by Scott DiGilio of RTM Engineering, our civil engineer, David Alderink of Wilkes Architects, Andrea Weisberg of Chipotle, and Brendan May of KLWay, our traffic consultant, who will all present the project in more detail and address some of the concerns that have been raised and changes that we have made along the way. Just real quickly, before I turn the mic over, I'd like to bring one item to your attention regarding the proposed ordinance. Everything that is written in the ordinance is acceptable to ownership except one item, which would require the developer to construct a sidewalk along Rand Road. Our civil engineer, Scott DiGilio, will touch base on this in his presentation, but our plans do not call for a sidewalk along Rand Road, as there would be many obstacles with this sidewalk. Furthermore, our property would be the only property on Rand Road, kind of from Ella Road, kind of to the southeast, through the Panera property that would have a sidewalk on this side of Rand Road. So we would respectfully ask that this item please be removed from the ordinance. But besides that, I would now like to turn the mic over to Scott DiGilio. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Scott DiGilio, principal at RTM Engineering. We're the civil engineers for this project. There we go. Okay, the site plan here is showing up on the screen. When we first came through the concept level through the village trustees here, a concern was that you could see inside of the dumpster. So we have since turned that around and put it along here with the decorative brick facing the road and landscaping that will screen the back of the dumpster so that not only it screens the brick, but no one can see then from the roadways inside the dumpster, that's where all the dirt and grease and stuff are. We're utilizing the accesses on Rand Road and on Main Street, which, Route 22. We're not touching those entrances. We have good circulation in the, let's see, how do we get to the next screen? Good circulation with the trucks. The delivery truck shown on the left there comes, drops off in the loading zone and comes back out, shown in blue. It can come either way, either direction. The garbage truck, actually this is the only good location for the dumpster for emptying the garbage truck. The vehicle comes in, heads straight in towards the dumpster, unloads, and then heads right out without having to block traffic in front of the store or block traffic coming in from the main entrances. And then the fire trucks, as you can see, have good access all through the site. We have 3 different exhibits showing their maneuverability.
So before you move, can I ask a question?
Sure.
So access to the dumpster area, the corral there, when the door is open, what are we looking at? Clearly, where is that opening from? If you open it, does it open out onto 12 or does it open onto the parking lot?
Into the parking lot side.
Okay.
Correct.
I got the pictures here, but I couldn't, I'm
Yeah, no, very good question.
drawing a blank on where that's looking at. If I'm
Yes.
looking at that, so, okay.
Okay, thank you. And what Joe had brought up, the sidewalk on Rand Road, so I want to show some exhibits that we've prepared here. There's mature trees along Rand Road, up to almost 2 feet in diameter. If you construct the sidewalk as you typically would at the property line elevation, we would lose the trees. As you can see, would have a significant cut. And by cutting all that, I'm sure there's plenty of utilities along Rand Road. There's not much parkway, and they try to put everything, in the parkway, not under the streets as much as they can. So there's going to be utility conflicts, and most concerning is the slopeness of the ground from the sidewalk to the street. There's not a lot of a distance between the traffic and the sidewalk, and it's a steep slope. Now, if we try to save the trees and the utilities and raise the sidewalk to the street, to the tree elevations, that slope gets even steeper, to the point where, if you start adding retaining walls to make that less steep, or fence, I'm sure that, first of all, IDOT would most definitely would not allow a retaining wall and a fence in their right-of-way. But you would have a 200-foot wall and fencing to stare at. Would not be very sightly. And then putting in the retaining wall would also interrupt utilities, and it's a snowball effect. But to me, most importantly, if you don't have a fence or a guardrail or something, that steep slope, someone's on a bicycle and goes off the sidewalk, they're flying down that hill right into traffic. And everyone knows, that's been brought up, how much traffic there is on Rand Road. And this is a definite unsafe condition for pedestrians. And as a civil engineer that we're out for the public safety, I would not feel comfortable designing a sidewalk along Rand Road without some kind of protection. And the protection most definitely would probably not be allowed by IDOT in the right way. That's all I have on the engineering side.
But we haven't asked IDOT if they would. Doesn't hurt to ask.
Doesn't hurt to ask. I know IDOT very well. I've got about a half dozen projects into them at a time. I know what they allow and what they don't allow. But
With all due respect, though, it doesn't hurt to ask.
that is correct.
We also have a good relationship with IDOT.
We have precedents at the Chase Bank development as well.
Right.
So as we fill gaps throughout the village, we look at these spots that we want to, as we go through the ADA transition plans and our bike plans and pedestrian enhancements, it's spots that we want to encourage to fill the gap.
Understood.
And this is not a gap. We're not filling a gap here. There is no gap because there's no sidewalks anywhere. So the gap would be having a sidewalk on its own, leading to nothing, giving a false impression to the pedestrians that they can get to the sidewalk and that leads to somewhere that doesn't lead to anywhere. Causing them to come to an end of a sidewalk in an unsafe condition of nowhere to go.
So we have don't go away. So we have in front, and Sarosh, maybe you can answer this too. So we have a request from them to disregard Section 2, Item 2 of the ordinance that we have in front of us. Is that correct?
A portion of item 2. The first paragraph, or rather the first paragraph is the one that, excuse me, requires them to put the sidewalk. The second portion is along Route 22, where we simply ask them to address any ADA slope issues on an existing sidewalk.
Okay, so the existing sidewalk, do you disagree with both parts of that?
No, we'll definitely fix any ADA slope issues that are not in compliance on the village's sidewalk.
So you'll fix that one, that's paragraph 2, but paragraph 1 on section 2, item 2 is the one that you disagree with.
I don't know the numbering, but if it's the Rand Road sidewalk is the
Yeah.
one we don't
Yes,
agree
it's
with.
the first paragraph
so-
on condition number 2.
Can you refresh our memories as to how the PCC handled that?
This condition was included in our recommendation to the PZC and incorporated into their findings as well.
Okay, so we're being asked to approve an ordinance with the condition that the petitioner doesn't agree with,
Yes.
okay? So any approval of this ordinance would have to be suggested to not have this paragraph in it.
That, or leave the paragraph in there.
Or leave the
You do
paragraph
have
in.
that option, yes.
And the PCC approved it with this condition in it?
Yes.
Okay.
I
Just want to make that clear.
So, Mayor, can
Would-
we, do you want to, you want to discuss this topic now or at the end of it?
Well, I'm for discussing it while it's here. So, if anybody
So-
else have any comments on it?
Yeah, I do. I mean, so what do we see? Are these objections legitimate? And are there other sidewalks or ways to connect the walkability of that whole parcel, whether it's going up Ela to 22 and across, or like, I mean, are there options if this isn't a viable option, or what's our opinion?
So currently, we require a sidewalk across the road at Chase in a very similar situation. This is the village's opportunity to start establishing sidewalks in areas that they weren't based on development going in there. So when Chase Bank went in there, we required a sidewalk in there, and they agreed to do it, and we are doing the same over here. We were not aware of the details that were displayed in their presentation as to the level of the slope, but when our engineers looked at it, they said that, yes, there are measures that could be put in place, such as retaining walls and protective guardrails to allow for a sidewalk to be put in there. And I guess in the interest of enhancing the walkability of our commercial areas, this was one of the recommendations that turned into a condition for approval in the ordinance that we submitted to you.
So just because Chase did it across the street, right, there could be different situations with grade and level.
There
would
is that
make it more
possibility.
That they could do that more easily than what can be done.
Chase had its own set of issues in terms of utilities that lay underneath it, an overhead utility that they had to also adjust. So they had their own set of challenges. This site has its own set of challenges. But Chase has agreed to overcome those challenges and install the sidewalk.
Okay, and realistically, if we were to insist, right, that this sidewalk place gets in and it's gonna be a piece that doesn't connect up to anything else, what's the reality or what's the time frame that we could realistically get the rest of the property owners or the rest of that sidewalk connection from where they're proposing to build to all the way, I guess, back to Elo, right?
This is one of the issues that we are actually examining in our comprehensive plan, which is to identify all the gaps in sidewalks. But as to the timing, it's part of a longer-term community improvement that the village would have to then approve for the construction of sidewalks where gaps have been identified.
So do you?
It could be 5
Mike,
years, 10 years.
Do you think we would be willing to construct that ourselves as a village, or we're hoping that Jewel agrees to?
If
I mean-
Jewel comes in, if a
I mean-
property owner, let's put it rather than picking on one, if a property owner comes in requesting a plan unit development where they are asking for certain relief from the requirements of the zoning code, the village typically then in return asks for enhancements and amenities to go onto these properties. And sidewalks are one of these amenities that we typically ask
Okay,
for.
but the likelihood of those businesses along the rest of Route 12 to connect up Ela coming to us in the next 10 years is probably unlikely to try to insist that they put a sidewalk. So I guess back to the other question, is there a way to provide walkability, not going down that Rand Road to connect that up, maybe up through Ela, right, past Jewel the other way and then down, or not? Like, have we looked at that?
There is a sidewalk on Route 22. We have not examined the feasibility of a sidewalk outside of the Rand Road right-of-way, but in that general vicinity, we have not examined that at this time.
Because we have sidewalks coming up past the McDonald's, right up, all the way to that
Yes.
corner, right?
Yes.
We just have a breakdown when we cross that
Yes.
intersection.
And soon, Chase will be putting in its sidewalk once they get their permits from IDOT.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
So I have a question. And it's definitely gonna weigh on where, the direction I'm going. So you, as the petitioner, knew what was approved and decided to come here and appeal to us to not approve what our PZC already went through with you? Is that what I'm understanding here?
Yes, it was a condition in.
Well, first off, there was nothing approved at the PZC. It was recommended.
The recommended, I'm
recommendation.
sorry, the full recommendation came to us with the recommendation that it's gonna be one way.
I don't, to be honest, I don't recall that that was, part of the recommendation with the planning and zoning, this sidewalk. I thought it was something that came up afterwards.
I believe it was in the original.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to make a recommendation that you go back to the PZC because you may not like my vote then. Because I don't like the bait and switch at the dais here at a full public meeting without you guys understanding what you're being asked to do and then coming in and then trying to get us to materially change the agreement on the spot, if that makes sense. Because I read the packet and I looked at it for what was recommended. And now I'm looking at it and you guys are asking us to undo a big portion of what they had recommended that apparently was decided at the meeting. And I would recommend at this point, and we've got a number of things we can do. We can vote it down, we can vote for it, or we could recommend you go back. But that's up to you in terms of your direction and where we want to go with it. But I would recommend you go back and clear up and get your ducks in a row before we take a vote tonight. But that's just my recommendation.
Yeah, and maybe Mark gives us a chance to get our ducks in a row too, to look at a little bit more whether this is something we want to insist on or not. Because to me, he brought up some decent objections.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to discount, but I want to make sure that we're going in the right direction and everyone's in a better understanding of what the request is. I understand utilities, I understand right-of-way, I understand IDOT's processes and all that kind of stuff, and I know those things take time. But at the same time, I'd rather get it right the first time than being stuck with a situation that's untenable and then we end up with problems down the line either.
Mayor, could we get like this on the next docket while we vet this out a little bit more?
So,
The other thing is, I'd like what you stated today to be more flushed out in writing. So I take notes, copious notes, but I do think that it was a little murky to me. Let's just put it that way. And I would like it clearly stated as to what the petitioner wants and the bases therefore. I'm not saying you're asking for something unreasonable, I just want to know what it is in writing in advance.
Well, I think he's saying we want something unreasonable.
Well, he might be, but
No, I think
in any event, I think
100%.
we still need, we still need to know, are there utility conflicts? I guarantee you, I'm not sure, can we move the trees? What the slope is? What would be required in the cost of a retaining wall? I don't want to hear these things off the cuff verbally at a meeting, and you guys wouldn't either, if you were doing your due diligence.
Keeping in mind, that would be all IDOT's decisions on costs, what can be done, what can't be done, and not the villages. And so we don't have a lot of that information until we go through the 1 to 2 year process with IDOT to do that.
So, are there any objections to any other part of this ordinance from your
No.
perspective?
That's it.
Okay,
This
so
is
we're
it.
not talking about a large chunk of this, and my
It's
concern
just-
is that we're gonna cause you a delay
Correct.
in construction. Is there a way that we can approve this without this item in the ordinance today, and then leave this as an open item? Because it says here, such resolution of slope and topographical issues shall be reviewed and approved by the village and applicable jurisdictional agencies. That looks to me to be possibly the IDOT issue.
We typically put that in as standard language because with a final plan, there are bound to be minor tweaks and additional agency permits that come in at a later date, and so we put that in as standard language.
And-
If you were to approve the ordinance as it stood right now, you could recommend in your motion that certain conditions either be struck or looked at as an alternate.
So Mayor, an alternate way to take a look at this is, as you recall, the foundation of this recommendation came from the extended discussions we had earlier this year about connectivity around the village, the board's direction as part of the comp plan process in our discussions with land use development, is taking an opportunistic approach to look at as development occurs or redevelopment occurs, we start putting in those pieces of connectivity and acknowledging that they may not all connect up right now, but at the future, the idea is to move in that direction on a case-by-case, property-by-property basis.
And I think we're all in agreement with
that's
that.
fine.
Yeah, so.
Since they're all proposing something alternative, or they're proposing not to put in a sidewalk, perhaps we can condition this is that they have to satisfy the intent to provide connectivity.
Okay,
Like a fee in lieu of?
Well, you make a proposal to us, to the village board, to consider how to best accomplish connectivity in that area in lieu of what you're not wanting to do. Because to your point, I think to Trustee Euchre's point, is that there was a lot of presumption there about what IDOT would or would not approve. Presumption about what utilities you may or may not find. Presumption about how the grades may or may not work. Presumption about ADA accessibility at the end of the day. That's a lot of presumption. And again, if you want to find an alternative way to not have to bake that into an IDOT permit and then go through the review process and find that it may or may not meet the needs, we could put the ball in your court and you can come up with a proposal of how to satisfy that need for connectivity along Rand Road. And that might be something that the board might be willing to entertain.
we're actually looking for a way to accommodate you on the
Yes.
fly here.
Yeah, and
So-
my recommendation or my proposal would be, is there some type of fee in lieu of escrow or something like that, would allow, us to proceed with the plans as presented, or as that we've constructed them, and, maybe down the road, something, that there's money, in escrow for future consideration?
I would, could we table this for another time? I don't know what your construction time period is, or when you wanted to order to get this
As soon as
item fleshed
possible.
out. Huh?
We'd like to be in a position as soon as possible, obviously, to break ground on this project.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I'd also like to clarify, the condition does exist as part of our recommendation to the PZC. It was, again, condition 2, and if you'd like, I'd read it out. It starts, though, with the Route 22 sidewalk, but it says if the existing sidewalk on Route 22 is to remain, it appears to have non-compliant cross slopes and curb ramp. Then it goes on to say, the developer shall be responsible to upgrade the non-compliant sidewalk and construct new sidewalk along the frontage of South Rand Road. The new sidewalk shall be installed along the westerly frontage of the property with Rand Road. The sidewalk shall be constructed to village specifications for width and location. It wasn't there. And that is part of what the PZC adopted as part of their findings.
Okay. Is there, like I mentioned, some type of fee in lieu of, that we could consider instead of constructing the sidewalk today?
Well, I don't think we're gonna play let's make a deal here.
No.
I'm looking for a recommendation on the best way to expedite their construction opportunity, window of opportunity, and this item here that we all agree needs to be looked at.
I think Attorney Euler wants to.
Can I suggest a possible solution? So we need a firm commitment relative to either the cost or the improvement that's being requested. So it sounds like we don't currently have a clear plan to include in the ordinance today that requires the sidewalk, that answers all the questions that are still up in the air about what it means to put the sidewalk in or not put it in. So at the end of the day, if we approve the ordinance now at this meeting, I think we would need to include the cost, the estimated cost of this improvement in lieu of, you've referred to it as an in lieu of contribution, So if the village has to move forward in the future, if this is delayed, but we have to move forward because there is no other alternative, and we do this as part of the connectivity plan overall in this area, we have the money we need to do the improvement ourselves. So it sounds like you're not objecting to the improvement itself, the cost of the improvement itself, you're objecting to the practicality of putting it in.
The practicality and timing, obviously, of getting,
Correct.
yeah.
So it would still give us the option to include in the ordinance that we will examine the other available alternatives right now. If those can't be resolved, that the developer agrees as part of this approval of this ordinance to the estimated, the fee in lieu as provided and estimated by the village.
Yes.
Is that something we're able to do?
Yes, we are. We do have a fee in lieu of in certain circumstances under which it is impossible to construct a sidewalk. That fee, yeah, we won't have that entire fee tonight because in addition to just the standard cost of constructing a 5-foot wide sidewalk, which we have a certain cost per square foot, in this particular case, there are additional costs involved with the construction of retaining wall, grading, et cetera, which we don't have those costs today.
So we would advise that continuing this item to our next meeting in December, so that we would be able to pull that information together and have some language in which we all can know what we're talking about specifically.
I mean,
So we would table this until then? Is that what you're saying?
Well, that would be our advice.
Okay.
But you don't have to do it that way.
Okay. Well, if we put it for a vote and it doesn't pass, then it doesn't pass, right?
Your other option would be to condition upon language you would try to approve tonight, but,
I'm not in favor of that.
well, I'm just outlining your options.
But couldn't we, per Scott's recommendation, couldn't we come up with language that would approve it based on the developer's agreement to pay the fee in lieu determined by the village after this meeting? And if they didn't agree to that, it wouldn't go through or not?
To be honest with you, I wouldn't feel good asking them to agree to something that they don't know how much is gonna cost them.
Well, they wouldn't go through with it then, right?
Well, yeah, yes, ma'am.
Can I, hi, I'm Andrea Weisbergen with Chipotle, and I just had a question because some of our visitors are not from here. I was wondering if there is a way that we can get a conditional approval while we have everyone in the room, instead of rescheduling this for December. I'm local, but some other people have come from a distance, so it's just a request that I'd like to make. And the other thing I'd like to make is, I'm not a lawyer and I don't understand, fee in lieu of, but maybe there's also something that is more feasible that would also contribute to Lake Zurich's, I don't know if it's pedestrian or something else that would be equal value.
Yeah,
to
I
the
hear what
city.
you're saying, but I think we were all talking about the connectivity that we're trying to
Okay.
accomplish in the village, additional connectivity, so.
The
I
rest
get
of,
it.
yeah, so would you like to hear the rest of what we're doing while everyone is here, or do you want to just continue the whole thing?
They still have a large part of their presentation to talk about the building and other items.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
yeah, we do have, yes, our architect and traffic engineer were prepared their portion of the presentation.
I'm sorry. Did I miss something?
All right, good evening, again. I'm David Aldring from Wilkes Architects, architect of record for this project. I'm gonna go up just a little bit. So one of the things that was brought up in the last meeting was kind of the monotony of the building a little bit. So what we did, is this help focus? How is this? There we go. So we added this brown kind of Nichiha cementitious fiber paneling around the main entry and carries around the side, which I believe fronts Rand Road, again, I'm not from here, so I don't know your roads verbatim and, you know, everything like that, but I believe this space is the intersection, and then this space is Rand Road. So that's one of the elements we implemented, as well as right here, it's kind of hard to tell, but there's kind of a discoloration here. Everything else is running bond, kind of brick pattern style. And this element here, we did vertical coursing along that whole drive-through side. And then that last element we did here is kind of this bumped out 1-inch projection away from the plane, the building plane, that kind of wraps around the corner here. So we kind of added, we took what you wanted, recommendations, we added 3 different elements, still sticking to the trade dress of Chipotle. As you guys can see, there's some renderings here. Again, the white is a type of stucco. As I can actually go back here a little bit. So again, yeah, bottom left, that stucco is the white with the coping on top. Pre-finished metal storefront is going to be charcoal color as well as the canopies. The main base of the building is going to be that black brick. And then, like I mentioned before, we added a brown kind of Nichiha wood paneling color. Go forward. There's some renderings for you to look at. And some site signage. Again, this is just a pickup lane window only, so there's no menu ordering, no speaker box, anything like that, like typical, you know, Starbucks, for example. We will have a, oops, my bad. So we will have a clearance bar right where A is. So right there. That bar is on a hinge, so if a truck is too tall or anything like that, it'll kind of let them know, like, hey, I can't go in this lane, I gotta kind of go somewhere else. A is the signage, so we'll have one sign here. That's gonna be exactly that type of signage. And we have 2 digital pickup arrow vertical signs, kind of help wayfind the traffic. There'll be one there, and then there'll be one here. So kind of at each ingress into the property. And then we have a 60-inch, so 5-foot round medallion sign that'll hover right around the main entry. And then just disregard E, that's more of an interior kind of sign that's included into that package. So again, kind of some more shop drawings. These are for reference only. This digital pickup sign is 6'6". Our signage vendor will obviously go through the sign ordinances, make sure what's allowable in terms of height. And then we'll turn it over to, no, I can go with this one. So again, with it being a pickup window lane only and not a true drive-through, the average service time is 2 minutes and 33 seconds in the lane itself. 136 daily Chipotle customers. 65% of customers are served in under 2 minutes. Okay. I can go back here a little bit, back to the site. So if your order is not ready, we have 2 designated markings right here where you can pull up, wait, and then someone from inside will run you out your order so you're not holding up the line. So again, the queue length is 4 cars or less approximately 98% of the time, and it exceeds 4 cars approximately only 15 minutes a day. Okay. Again, no speaker box, no ordering station. It is literally just a pull-up lane, grab your order, and go. Obviously, lunch peak hours is 11:30 to 1:30. Employees per shift, 8 employees for lunch, 9 for dinner. There is 6 proposed vehicle stacking for this particular location. Online system ordering. System does not allow for more than 10 orders to be made during any 15-minute interval. Could be for Chipotle pickup in-store or order ahead. So there's 3 different options there. Anticipated daily customers, 450 to 500 daily, with an average check of $19.30. The black polygon is the anticipated draw of the area. So kind of that outer reach there. Traffic, 40% of it will be lunch. The other 60% is going to be dinner. There's definitely more commercial opportunities in this area that would indicate a balanced lunch dinner rush. And then is this email? Yep, okay. Hand it over.
Okay, while you have that picture up there, can you show me where the trash enclosure is? On that picture, about where it is?
It'll be, let's say about right there.
It's right there. Okay, thanks.
Hello, everybody. My name is Brendan May. I'm a traffic and parking engineering consultant with KLOA based out of Rosemont. I've been with the company for over 10 years, and we've been performing traffic and parking studies in the Chicagoland area for over 25 years. So we prepared an industry standard traffic study that took a look at the weekday midday, weekday evening, and Saturday midday peak periods. Those are the traffic, as previously indicated, would be the biggest generators by the Chipotle. We did traffic counts at the intersection of Rand Road with Main Street and at the 3 access drives on Rand Road and Main Street that would best serve this location. Overall, our study found that approximately 50% of the trips generated by the Chipotle would be traffic that's already existing on the area roadway. So these are people who are currently commuting to and from work for the dinner time period or for lunchtime period, customers at other commercial developments within the area. Particularly if you are a Jewel or ATI customer in the middle of the day, you already have cross access internal to the Chipotle site without having to exit onto Rand Road or Main Street. We performed capacity analysis at all the access drives within the vicinity of the site and found that the traffic generated by the Chipotle will not have a significant impact on the operations of these access drives. In fact, the majority of them are going to continue to operate similar to how they do under existing conditions. Thirdly, the access system serving this retail center will ensure that efficient and flexible access is provided, even though a lot of the access drives are currently restricted to right turn movements only. Given the proximity to the intersection and access drives on both Rand and Main allows for flexible regional access by being able to access either road directly. The site plan provides for efficient circulation due to the one-way operation of the Chipotle lane, as well as adequate stacking of 6 vehicles. As previously indicated, they average 4 vehicle stacking for the majority of the time. Additionally, appropriate wayfinding signage will be provided to help direct customers to the Chipotle lane. And if an order is not ready, they do have the pull-ahead spaces to allow that lane to continue moving efficiently. And lastly, the parking supply for the Chipotle will be contained within its own site, and the parking being lost will not have an impact on the existing balance of the commercial center, as adequate parking will continue to be provided for both sites. And I'm available for any questions.
Any questions on that? No? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Any additional presentations?
That concludes the presentation. Obviously, thank you for your consideration. And we are looking forward to bringing this high-quality development to your community. So, thank you.
Okay, don't go away yet. I think we might have some more questions and comments. I'm going to go back to the trash compactor because the trustee who's not here tonight had a specific want regarding the trash compactor or the trash enclosure, and that was that I believe he felt that we shouldn't be allowing trash compactors on the Route 12 side of the property, which is where I think this sits. And I don't know how we we've got a nice corral there, it's nice and brick and whatever other
Matches the
material it is, and
material.
it's surrounded by 5 or 6 arborvitaes, but it's still sitting right on, almost on the curb on Route 12, on the corner of a really nice intersection, so. I don't know where I'm gonna go with that, but I'm not in love with that, but just, that's my 2 cents, so.
I would say that we were limited to the location of the trash enclosure because there's a substantial water main that runs through the property that we cannot build over, and we've vetted this, and this was the location we were able to come up with. I mean, obviously, we've agreed to, match the building material with the trash enclosure and substantially enhance the landscaping to accommodate some of the concerns.
Okay, so I'm gonna take a shot in the dark here and make a suggestion that we table this till the next meeting. You don't have to make the presentation again, we got it, okay? You've been to the PZC and you've been in front of us, so anybody who has to travel won't have to travel for that issue, for the whole presentation. So if possible, if we can get that sidewalk resolved in the next 2 weeks, and perhaps take another look at where the trash compactor is, and then come back and address those issues, can we do that? Would that be acceptable to the rest of the board?
What would what would the date of that meeting be?
December 4th. It's 2 weeks.
Scott,
I have one comment on the dumpster location, since the trustee is not here. I'm assuming he has a problem with like the brick of the dumpster
I think he just has a problem with the location of where it is sitting on Route 12.
Well, the only thing you see is the
I
brick.
get it, I get
with-
it. It's still
That will
garbage
be
dump.
screened, but just to keep in mind, if we put a sidewalk with a retaining wall, that brick is gonna get way larger than a dumpster in that area. So I just wanted to bring up the similarities between the dumpster and the retaining wall.
Okay,
So
thank you.
how comfortable is staff that this dumpster solution is gonna look nice and not uglify our view from Route 12?
Initially, when the dumpster was proposed, it was proposed sort of central to the site, but with its gates opening facing Rand Road. And that was one of the comments made at the earlier courtesy review. They then took the dumpster and relocated to where it is today and turned its back to the street, and the PZC agreed with that. I think there were questions asked at the PZC meeting about that. What staff did in addition to that was, understanding that there was a blank wall backing up to Rand Road, we asked them to soften that barrier effect of the wall with landscaping and pretty much hide the dumpster from view.
So do you feel pretty comfortable it'll look, I mean, it's-
We've recommended approval
Okay,
of that because the other location that they had started off with has an easement that has utilities running through it, and we typically do not allow structures such as these permanent walls erected in an easement that has utilities running under it, just to keep our areas free and clear of any of those structures.
okay, thanks, Roche.
Okay, so what say you with regard to tabling this for 2 weeks? Because we could take it to a vote right now.
Can I offer something before
Sure.
they talk? I want to say this. I like the concept. I like the work. I'm not anti the Chipotle, and I like the design of the building. I think you guys did a great job with it. I think it looks really good. Initially, I did have a concern about the location of the trash area, but I get it because I've looked at it and I see your drawing about how the truck can get in and how it's going to be tight and all that. I understand that completely. I don't want you to walk away thinking, gee, they hate our project, they hate us, and that's not where we're at here. We just want to clean up this language and make sure we're in a good space around what the agreement was or what can be agreed to about that sidewalk, because it was recommended by our volunteers that come in and they put a lot of time in to put this together for us. And I don't want to go into a situation where we're supporting one and not supporting the other. I want to even this out. So I'm in favor of the project. I like the project. I think you have a great thing going here. I think give us the 2 weeks so we can work it out with staff to get to a better space, because if we go to a vote here, two of the three options can be something that you really may not like. We can approve it with saying that the sidewalk has to be in there, and you don't have an agreement to it, and you're stuck, and then you've got to decide to walk away. Or we vote against it because of what we're hearing about your concern about not wanting to do it, and we feel like we're not operating in good faith and fidelity here, and then you're walking away without an approval, right? So best case scenario is to walk back, give us the 2 weeks, work with our staff, come to a good space, so that we don't have to force you into something, one of two of the three options that are not favorable for you. Does that make sense?
It makes, I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I appreciate your sentiment about the project. I mean, it feels like, you know, one way or the other, you know, whether it's, you know, some type of, you know, having to construct the sidewalk or some type of fee, you know, in lieu of here. I mean, is there something that can be like I'm not sure if there's something that we could figure out tonight that would be satisfying, would satisfy everybody here. I mean, I'm just.
So from my opinion, that's difficult, right? Because I mean, I feel like we're not trying to strong arm you into paying some kind of extra expense that doesn't make sense for us or not. But at the same time, we do have this vision of connectivity, right? And that was kind of agreed upon. So unless we can talk with our staff, right, and figure out some other way to address that connectivity, then it kind of doesn't work, right? But we don't have that opportunity right now to do that, right? So I think you're gonna have to give us a little bit of time to figure that piece out, or agree to do the sidewalks regardless of the cost to you. I think that's where you're at right now.
Yep. We got hung with this tonight, so we weren't aware of this, so.
Yeah, I don't think we're in a position tonight to be able to just say that we would agree to the sidewalk, so. I guess if we need an additional 2 weeks to come up with an alternate solution here, you know, then that's what we'll have to do.
Okay. So then, we need to make a motion to table this for 2 weeks.
Specifically the next meeting. Specifically to the next meeting.
Okay, so then I'm gonna make a motion to table this item until the meeting on December 4th. You don't have to make a presentation. We're gonna talk about specifically Section 2, Item 2, the sidewalk issue, come to some agreement and go from there. So my motion is to table this till the December 4th meeting in order to find details for the sidewalk.
Mayor, did you also want them to come back with further justification on the location of the dumpster?
I'm
or
sorry.
is that clear?
Yes, that would be included in there as well.
Okay.
Just those two items.
Just wanted to clarify.
Okay. So I made the motion. I need a second.
Second, Whiter.
Okay, second, Clerk Cordell, would you call the roll, please?
Trustee Chagru.
Aye.
Trustee Bobrowski.
Aye.
Trustee Euchre.
Aye.
Trustee Spicone.
Aye.
Trustee Wyder.
Aye.
December 4th. See you back here. Thanks for answering our questions. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I don't know how he calls them. He's got a unique mix. Kathleen, I know, always moves up one person when she goes through the call. I don't know, I haven't figured out Kyle's method yet when he calls roll call. I don't know.
Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda. I lost my notes here.
It's
Item
me.
B. This is, we're on C. Trustee Chagru.
Collective bargaining agreement between the Village of Lake Zurich and the Fraternal Order of Police Patrol Unit. In summary, the Fraternal Order of Police collective bargaining agreement with specific police department employees expires on December 31st, 2023. The Village and Union have been in productive negotiations regarding a successor contract, and in November of 2023, members of the patrol unit accepted a new 3-year contract effective January 1st, 2024. This contract extends 3.5% annual increases to the covered employees from 2024 through 2026, which aligns with the current marketing conditions, including inflation trends and recent contracts, with similarly sized police departments. Details in the new contract are outlined in the attached staff report.
Doug Gibson. Anything to add, sir?
Thank you, Mayor. Really nothing to add to it. I guess reach out and say thank you to the members of the local 190. They work very well. They take pride in their jobs, and I appreciate working with all their hard work.
Okay. Board, any comments? Nope. Anybody? Okay, Roger?
Okay. I'd like to recommend action, a motion to approve collective bargaining agreement between the Village of Lake Zurich and the Fraternal Order of the Police Patrol Unit effective January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2026.
Okay, thank you. And a second, please?
I'll second, Euchre.
Mary Beth and Clerk Cordell, please call the roll.
Trustee Bobrowski. Aye. Chagru.
Aye.
Wider.
Aye.
Euchre.
Aye.
And Spicone.
Aye.
Oh, that was fast. Nice. Okay, next item, that item passes. Thank you, Doug, for all your hard work on that negotiations. Appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
And the chief, too. Where is he? Oh, there he is, back there. Thanks, chief. Next item, 8D. Again, I'm sorry, this is trustee Spagone.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 8D, collective bargaining agreement between the Village of Lake Zurich and the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 150. In summary, this Local 150 collective bargaining agreement with specific public works employees expired on December 31st, 2022. Since then, the village and the union have been in productive negotiations regarding a successor contract, and in November of 2023, members of Local 150 accepted a new 3-year contract retroactive to January 1st, 2023. This contract retroactively applies a 3% increase for 2023 and sets a 3% increase for 2025. For 2024, covered employees will receive a 9% adjustment in exchange for transitioning from the union's health insurance program, of which the village currently pays 100% of the premiums, to the village's health insurance program, for which the employees would contribute the same as other village employees. The village anticipates long-term savings from having the public works employees on the village's health insurance rather than on the union's. The 9% adjustment makes the transition cost equivalent to the covered employees while making the starting wage scale more competitive for attracting new employees. Details of the new contract are outlined in the new attached staff report.
Doug Gibson, again, anything to add?
Nothing except to say again, thank you to our hardworking members of our Local 150. I appreciate their work.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else on the board?
So we're already a year into the new contract that we just signed to go back, so we got to start negotiating the next one, right?
That's about right.
Okay. You could take a break for 6 months.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody down here? Nope. Okay, Roger. Mark.
Okay. So I'd like to make a motion to approve a collective bargaining agreement between the Village of Lake Zurich and the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 150, effective January 1, 2023 through December 31, 2025.
Second?
I'll second Euchre.
Thank you. And Kyle,
Trustee
please call
Spagone?
the roll.
Aye.
Chagru.
Aye.
Wider.
Aye.
Bobrowski.
Aye.
Euchre.
Aye.
Okay, both contracts are passed. Whatever you start negotiating, you know. That includes our new business for tonight, so we'll move on to item 9, trustee reports. Are there any trustee reports tonight? Anybody else? Okay. Staff reports. Anybody got one?
I have a brief one.
Have at it.
Okay. Put the show on. A familiar topic, one that you'll be hearing quite a bit about over the next several years. So just wanted to follow up on our conversation a couple of weeks ago. We had talked a bit more at our budget workshop, and just wanted to review a couple of the key elements and then just continue the conversation if there's anything in particular you would like us to take a closer look at. We just reviewed the construction costs. There was a couple of questions that we'd received over the past couple of weeks about where did the cost come from. As you may recall, we'd got this information back in April of 2023. CDM Smith, Amaro Atassi, and taking the lead, had put together budget estimates of what it would cost to put together the connections to Lake Zurich and to Lake Michigan through CLC Jawa system. And as you can see, there's two components. One is the improvements that connect us to CLC Jawa system in Vernon Hills. And then there's a series of improvements that need to be made to our distribution and source system here in Lake Zurich. And so you see the two components coming together with that $132 million upper number range, which also I wanted to call out includes the contingency and change order. So that is a rather large number, about $16 million that we have baked into the budget just in case. We hope not to spend it, but it is there. We want to be pleasantly surprised rather than shocked that costs went up further beyond what we had anticipated. That also includes the capital connection charge from CLC Jawa. As you recall, what we talked about at our last meeting is so that number, that $154 million, is broken into three financing components, and we've received a couple of questions about that as well. So just to remind everyone that we're looking at two IEPA loans. One, the village would take out for the improvements within Lake Zurich. Another loan that the CLC Jawa would take out on our behalf, but we would be obligated to repay through CLC Jawa. And then the capital connection charge that we would be paying CLC Jawa. And you can see there the relative terms. So being able to pay this off over 30 years, IEPA loans are significantly less than what the market is bearing right now. We were advised by our financial consultants that if we were to go out to bond, that interest rate over 30 years would probably be in the 5 to 6% range. CLC Jawa has agreed to extend us the no-interest loan, extend our financing plan over 30 years at 0% for that capital charge. And as Bill Susi, the executive director from CLC Jawa, had previously reported, that is money that goes back into the system so that once not just the current members, but we would also benefit from that reinvestment in their existing system. All of that translate into the revenue stream needed of about $7.5 million starting in about 2028. Again, this was just a map that you'd seen in the April presentation, just showing a rough outline of where the connection to Vernon Hills would be made. That's not an exact alignment. That is the proposed route, but it would be subject to engineering design and refinement, and eventually right-of-way and easement acquisition process. And then these are just as one of the exhibits that was presented by CDM Smith, showing some of the improvements that would be made in the Midlothian Oakwood area, where we'd anticipate the connection being made and then distribution being pumped out from there. So as we talked the other day, the FY 2024 budget, that initial down payment of $5 million is baked into the proposed Water Enterprise Fund to start that engineering design work. We have baked into the budget as well that $3 increase for start the capital financing process. We had taken a look, and the mean monthly residential use was about 4.4 units, or 4,400 gallons roughly. So that corresponds to an average monthly increase of $13.43. And that also then, that final rate increase as it steps up over fiscal year 2025 to 2028, could be adjusted by 2028, depending on, again, hopefully not needing the contingency. If we were paying for things as we go along, so that we bring down the total amount financed, and then, of course, the non-home rule sales tax referendum question, that if that passes, substantially changes it as well. Again, proposing to pay for about a third of the system. I'm going to turn over to Michael in particular. He had done a little bit of digging. There is a trustee had volunteered, as he is a high-end user, representative at the higher end of the scale. So, Michael, you want to jump in?
Sure. We did have the opportunity of taking a look at a particular household, and we've labeled that a larger household, just simply because of the consumption. And in this chart, we have the annual consumption of this particular household. They use just shy of 110,000 gallons a year. And then you can take a look at the annual progression of what the cost is. So that's 2023, and then going all the way up to 2028. And this is the simplified package. We're looking at the $3 increase over the 5-year period. Then we also took a look at quickly what the average consumption is a month, and average would be over a 12-month period. Obviously, some months will be less, some months will be higher, depending on what's going on in the particular household, which we don't know about. The average bill then would be, you're looking at, in 2023, was running about $181, and that would climb to $317 by 2028, barring any of the other mitigation opportunities that go along the way. So I think this is probably worst-case scenario. But thank you for allowing us to look into things.
Okay. For the record, I'll be an empty nester by the time this all happens, so hopefully things will come down again.
Well, and that is part of what our approach is with this is by putting a rate schedule in effect, folks can take informed choices and understand and plan for what may be coming down over the next few years and not be surprised. One of the things that we had talked about was that really, this is kind of the summary of there's really no good alternative to Lake Michigan water, or there's no going back. In taking a look at the most likely radium treatment process that might be available to Lake Zurich, should we decide to stay in our deep water wells, we are still looking at a $100 to $115 million type project, comparable in scale to the Lake Michigan project. That number for the radium treatment process, the WRT process that we talked a little bit about a couple weeks ago, that's a very, very rough number because there's a lot of variables that would go into whether or not that actually would be the total cost or would be higher. We do know from our experiences or hearing from our consultants who have worked with other systems that there is higher operating costs associated with it. So that would all have to be looked at if the board wanted to go back at that point. There's a number of risks associated with this, and this was another area in which we'd received a couple of questions. So really, the big question up front is that you'd have to do pilot testing to make sure that it would actually work for our system, which is not a guarantee. So it may not be the actual solution that would be available to Lake Zurich if you decided to stay on deep water wells. It would have to take a pilot test, and hopefully that would fly, but there's no guarantee. As we said before, the higher operating maintenance costs, there's regulatory review. Things are not becoming less regulated over time, so there's always that risk that something else might have to come up and be implemented with this approach. One of the things that was brought to our attention by our consultant as a concern is that we would be concentrating that radium waste, and we would need to require a radioactive materials license. And so regarding that, we received a question about what kind of liability coverage might be possible for the village should there ever be an accident. And the answer we got was there is none, nothing standing. It's not to say that a policy couldn't possibly be crafted with a Lloyd's of London or somebody who is used to developing policy coverages for exceptional and unique circumstances. IRMA, our current risk management, does cover our current operations, but there is no coverage from them or from a referral that they had given us of how to actually cover should, in the remote likelihood that something happened with that concentrated radium waste, what would that look like and how might that impact the village? So that cost is not reflected in the rate or the risk calculations because there is no dollar of value that we could come up with at this point to represent it. So next steps, just to keep the process moving along, continued board discussion tonight, so I'm going to check that off. And then we got the December 4th, I'm sorry, it says December 6th, but December 4th board meeting, we have the adoption of the budget. And along with that, we have the proposed 5-year rate schedule that we would put in front of you as well as part of that. After the holidays, we'd be starting to implement that first $3 per 1,000-gallon capital charge. And then, as we said before, the next 3 steps really in dealing with, or I should say the following 2 steps are approving the IEPA loan documentation and then ultimately solidifying and memorializing our marriage to CLC Jawa through the membership agreement. And then further down the road, we have the referendum on the home rule sales tax. We have the board amendment to the capital charge. Again, we're able to reduce that rate schedule if the home rule sales tax referendum passes. And then 24 into 25, we're looking at engineering, easement acquisition, the permitting and bidding processes, and then with construction slated for 2026, 2027, and hopefully the spigot will turn open and we'll have Lake Michigan water by 2028, which is also when the debt service kicks in. So, we just wanted to put that back in front of you and just refresh, and if there's anything else that you all would like to talk about tonight or at a future meeting, we'd be happy to continue to do so. You know, we hope to continue to push this information out, Facebook and benchmarks. And we'll be looking for, as we get further and deeper into this topic, making sure that the community is brought along throughout this whole process. So thank you.
So can I ask a question real quick or something for future reference? The board received an email from a resident today, I believe it was today, making a suggestion to spread around the tax liability on this in different ways. I think they had suggested a 1% tax on Amazon purchases. The residents need to know that and I shared it with Michael, I don't know if you saw it, Ray, but just for the residents to know, we are a non-home rule community. We attempted to become a home rule community a few years ago and we were defeated. The referendum was defeated. We can't just go and apply taxes to a bunch of different areas. And so for the residents who keep coming up with great ideas around how we could try and raise money, but without being a home rule community, we don't have the ability to just add taxes to all of these different services and opportunities that people think we can. So that's why we're talking about the non-home rule tax that we do have leftover availability to help us offset this cost through a larger medium. So at some point, if we can just build that into our conversation for residents, because it seems like there is a misunderstanding about what our ability to tax and not tax is out there. And so it severely limits our flexibility in some ways, especially in this process here. So thank you.
And with regard to home rule versus non-home rule, we intend on staying as a non-home rule community and have no intentions, none of us do, of making any move towards being a home rule community. So take that off your list too. So anybody else? But for Ray? No? Anybody else? The staff? No? Okay, well, that concludes our business for tonight. Next regularly scheduled board meeting is December 4th. We hope to see many of you at Miracle on Main Street on December 2nd, starting at 3 o'clock. Thanks for watching. Have a safe and healthy, stay safe and stay healthy. Happy Thanksgiving. We have a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
So moved. Whiter?
Second, please.
Second, Sugar.
All in favor?
Kyle? Kyle, call the roll, please.
Trustee Euchre?
Aye.
Trustee Spicone?
Aye.
Trustee Chagru?
Aye.
Trustee Weider? Trustee Bobrowski?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.